Hello brothers and sisters, welcome to another episode here on Dangerous African Confessions HD. In this episode, we have the continuation of the story from our mother who was telling us in the previous episode about her life as a pastor, and the kind of life she led together with some senior pastors in the faith. She did reveal to us about her numerous romantic relationships she had with not just one senior pastor, but rather several of them. And even going to the extent of aborting the several pregnancies that she had for them, even as a married woman and a pastor for that matter. And today, she wants to share with us the things she did and encountered before she came back to the right path. She said that, brother, I went off the beautiful path I was walking on with God. And I let the beauty and the riches of this world blindfolded me into things I was not supposed to do. I wouldn't want to take much of your time, so let us all go and listen to what our dear mother has for us.
That evening when I was home, I had a call from one pastor that I knew back in my time at the theology school. He called me and said he wanted to meet me. So I gave him time that we can meet in the next day. So I met this friend of mine and he told me about a revelation that he has had about me. He said that someone that I respect so much is taking me to a place of my doom. He said that I have been asked to go to a place for some that I have no idea of what it is. I was very quiet and shocked. But I pretended and listened to what he was saying. He told me that, in his vision, he saw me at a place where I was in a company of about 5 men, and all of a sudden then they changed into a serpent and they started chasing after me as I was running. And in the mix of the men that turned into the serpent was the very person that took me to that place. So, he wanted to warn me to be very careful with any man I am following. If there is something like that, I should pray over it before I go. And just as we were done and were about to leave, he looked at me and asked, why am I doing that to my husband? I asked what he meant by that. He told me that he can see the souls of my husband standing next to me crying and asking why I am killing him slowly. He told me to be very careful if there is anything that I was doing that is against my husband. Because his tears has touched the spirits and it might end up affecting me badly. That day I didn't go anywhere, I just went back home and got into bed. I thought about the conversation this my friend had with me over and over again till I slept off. That day I had a dream and I was with this man that I didn't know from anywhere, and in the dream, he told me that he was going to help me to realize what I have set up to do. In the dream, I was setting up this shop. And this man, after I had finished talking to him, and he promising me that he was going to help me with my business, when he was leaving me, I turned back to him and our faces met. When our faces met like that, I saw him smiling, only for me to turn back, and within a split of seconds, my shop had caught fire and everything that was in my shop did burn to ashes. When I woke up, I couldn't understand what the dream meant, and I started to ask myself so many questions. Within a couple of minutes after I had gotten up from the bed, this same friend called me. At first I didn't want to answer his call. But then, something in me pushed me to answer it. So when the second call came, I answered and told me to tell him what is worrying me right now as we were talking. I was again shocked to hear him ask me such a direct question. How did he know in such a split of seconds what I was thinking or what is bothering me? I told him about the dream that I had. That was when he told me that, this my dream confirms the very conversation he had with me. And the reason why he called and specifically asked me that question was the kind inspiration he had. He said he was there when he had this strange feeling to call and ask me how I was doing and what was wrong with me. And he was hoping to get something similar to this as an answer. I never knew after school, this guy had grown to become so sharp like that in the things of the spirit. He told me that, for the last time, if I have plans to go to any place for help together with anyone, I should think twice about such things, because whoever is taking me there will lead me to a place where I will be destroyed. And there will be no turning back for me. He then told me that there is something that he wants to talk to me about. But the matter is such sensitive enough and he doesn't know how to start it. At this time, he had captured my attention and everything, so I told him to be honest with me with whatever he wanted to talk to me about. because I see him to be my brother, and as such he can open up about anything with me. He then asked me again if I was sure of what I was saying. After letting him know he can go ahead and tell me whatever he wanted to tell me, he told me that I should stop the things that I am doing behind my husband. Because what I do not see to realize is that my husband is my pillar. And he is the only reason spiritually why I still have a ministry that I am leading. I asked what he meant by what I am doing. He then told me that he knows about my affair with one senior pastor. But then warned me that that man is not operating with the Spirit of God. We had a very lengthy conversation about this secret of mine. At this point, I couldn't hide anything from him again. I knew he knows whatever he was talking about. He said, I cannot bring it up because I love you like a sister. And also I wouldn't want to cause you any disgrace or pain in your life and ministry. He said to me that he knew I was being manipulated into doing some of the things I have been doing. He said one profound thing to me. He said that your husband is praying for you and is waiting for the day you will return to him as the woman he fell in love with. When he said this to me, tears began to drown my eyes. I couldn't hold back the tears anymore. That day, I cried and cried till I fell asleep in my tears. When I woke up, it was around 9 in the evening. I went and knocked on his door. Remember I told you he had moved out of our bedroom into one of the rooms in the house. He answered me and I went inside the room. I knelt before him and asked for his forgiveness. That was the day I saw my husband cry like a baby. He told me one thing. He said that I have not wronged him, but it was God that I have sinned against. And so I should go on my knees and pray to him to forgive me. Because to him, he holds no grudges against me. Because if he did, he would have asked for divorce a long time. And the reason is that my husband knew about what was going on between his senior pastor and myself. He brought his phone and showed me pictures of me and his pastor in some awkward places. Apparently, someone who knew us had taken those pictures and sent it to him. I was devastated, I was broken, I couldn't believe how a man could handle this, knowing such things about your own wife. My brother, if I tell you I believed anything my husband told me, I will be lying to you. I knew he was going to divorce me, after coming to the knowledge of what I have been doing behind him. He left the house and told me that he was visiting his family. This was the time I felt he will come with the message of a divorce. He spent a week with his family in his hometown. And during all this time, I will call him and he will still answer my call. Talk to me nicely and then tell me to reflect on all the things that have happened and then come to a realization for myself. Brother, I can tell you for a fact that I know there are good men out there. My husband, is a different kind of man. I didn't expect him to welcome me with such an open arms again. But he did it, and even showed me so much support, even when I said that I wanted a divorce because I didn't deserve him. Yes, I did. I told him I wanted a divorce, because brother, what was going through my mind was too many for me to handle. And I couldn't understand how he was all calm about the whole situation. I tell you, he didn't do anything to let our child to know anything about the kind of things going on. This made him to call my mother into our house. He had a meeting with my mother and myself. When he called the meeting, I thought he wanted to tell my mother what had happened between us. And so, I had made up my mind to also confess to my mother and tell her that there was no way I was going to continue in the marriage. But then he shocked me. He told my mother that there are issues going on in our marriage that he as the husband would never talk about it to anyone. And despite it all, despite the things I have done to him, he still loves me and will never do anything to hurt me. And so, he has the one that I have wronged called her, my mother, to help him tell me that he has forgiven me and would love us to start all over again. That day in the guest room that my mother was staying, I cried like a child. I told my mother everything myself. I wanted to release the burden. My mother said something significant to me. She said that, for your husband not to have uttered any word about these incidents to anyone and is even the one to call for a peace in our marriage goes a long way to show how much my husband respects our marriage vows. And so, I should make up my mind to also go on my knee, make any set of vows to him and to promise him of living up to the trust that he has in me. For over about a month or so, I couldn't stand in front of the congregation to minister to them, because I wasn't at the right place to go in front of them. It took me time to come to terms with what was going on. And after that I did set up a ministry where I was dealing with only the young ladies in the church, and sometimes I organize for other churches too. This way, I share with them how the devil can one way or the other try to let you walk away from your Maker without you even realizing. And this is why when I came across you, I decided to share my story with you all, so that someone out there can learn a thing or two from me. That the devil does not care whether you are a pastor or not, he will try his best to win you over to himself. So I plead with whoever is listening that, understand who you are, where you stand with God, and what he demands of you. If you know these things, you will not allow material things to steal what you have with your Maker. Thank you for having me share my story with you. God bless you all.
Don't forget to please subscribe, share and like our videos. Kindly hit the notification bell so you will be the first to get notification to our videos when we upload. Like I always say, these are not just stories for story's sake. They are meant for us not to make these mistakes our brothers and sisters are making. That's why we share these stories with you. After listening to this story, I will say that I leave everything to our viewers to foment and share their experiences with us all, if only you have experienced something like this. Again, I would like to stress that we do not have any ill motive, but we are here to help our innocent brothers and sisters to realize what is happening out there, that they do not have any idea about, so that they can make their own decisions going forward in their walk with Christ. The only thing I can say is that, know Christ for yourself. Because it takes you to discover yourself, and nobody else. Let me talk about what really is happening in this generation. Our people and loved ones are gradually being deceived into thinking that pastors cannot make mistakes, and as if they cannot also do things that are dangerous. I always say that, know the God your Lord for yourself. And do not see God from someone's perspective. Because you might not know their sources and the kind of things they do behind the scenes before they come and tell you the supposed word of God. I just hope that we honestly take the important lessons from these stories to better our lives and decisions. I pray that we learn from some of these stories and live a better life. If not for anything at all, it pays to live a decent and better life. Stay blessed and be safe. Thanks for being a part of this growing family. Kindly share your thoughts with us in the comment section below. And if you are new here, please subscribe, like and share.